Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful local products we enjoy.
The first craft distillery in the U.S. opened in Virginia almost 30 years ago. Summertime is tomato time. Many gardeners are enjoying tomatoes like your grandfather used to grow. And it's also berry picking season in the Old Dominion. Pick your own operators are expanding into blueberries to keep the customers coming.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're here in beautiful Nelson County, Virginia this week, where blueberry aficionados are busily harvesting that nutritious fruit. And we'll explore that topic shortly. But first, the craft beverage industry is booming in the Old Dominion. We have craft breweries, wineries, and now craft distilleries dotting the countryside. We're going to visit the guy who is the granddaddy of all moonshine makers.
The first thing you notice at Belmont Farms Distillery are the cornfields you pass on the way in from the highway. The second thing you notice is the sweet smell of corn mash. There's a unique mix of traditional and modern whiskey production here. While the gift shop displays the old-fashioned methods of cooking moonshine, it's an efficient business back in the distillery.
We still raise our own grain right here. We plant our corn. You can see our corn crop coming in. It's off to a good start. We've had a lot of rain. We've been going through about 100 acres of corn a year. Well, this year we're up to 100. We were 75 last year. We store the grain right over here in our grain tanks, right on the farm here.
Chuck Miller uses a recipe passed down from his own grandfather for the distillery's signature product, Virginia Lightning 100% corn whiskey. When he started cooking in 1987, there were no other craft distilleries in the U.S. He was the first small producer to wade through the paperwork.
So I called up, well, back in that era was the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Farms, told them what I wanted to do. No small guy had ever called before, you know. They said, yeah, you could do it, but you got to fill out some of these forms. They must have sent me a package of forms yay thick. Took me a year to get through them. I'd fill them out, send them in, they'd grade them and put red ink all over it and send them back. And we kept doing that for a while. And then they finally sent an agent out and we went over them together and got it all right and they let me get started.
Today, there are several hundred craft distilleries in the U.S. and at least 10 in Virginia. Miller's son-in-law, Jay Durkee, is now the master distiller, taking over day-to-day duties. It might sound like a dream job for some, but it comes with its challenges.
Well, our days are typically 12 to 13 hours, so we get here around 6 to 6:30, so we can go to bed at a reasonable time. But we show up, we start pumping things around. Every day we're cooking, every day we're distilling, every day we're moving whiskey or some spirit around, cutting it, filtering it. So it's a big process, and it usually takes all day to get it done. The quality is very important to us. Everything's hands-on here. I mean, we've updated some of the machinery, but still there's a hand on every single part of the process to make sure it's done right without computers telling us what to do.
Durkee says with growing competition, they're always seeking an edge to stay ahead, but Virginia consumers have been faithful customers, and they're working to make their products stand out. Miller says another key to their success is determination. He and his wife had to lobby the Virginia legislature to win approval to sell their whiskey on site. So they found a friendly legislator and helped write a bill.
It was kind of funny. When they went in for the final vote, you know, you kind of stand there and they read the bill, you know, and there's like 20 of these state senators sitting there. And then they read the bill and they asked, any objections? You know how they do it. And one guy raised his hand, one of the senators. He said, yeah. Did he bring a sample? And then the guy in charge put the hammer down. Bill passed. Next. So we got it changed, and because of that, now you can sell here.
One reason American-style moonshine whiskey is distinctive is because it's generally not aged. Producers sold it as quick as they could, usually just to stay ahead of the law. Miller says that's why his Virginia Lightning is a bestseller. His recipe tastes smoother on the tongue than other moonshine.
But now, since there's so many distillers out there and they're making so many different products, I don't want to get left behind. So we are coming out with other products now too. So we have vodka that's currently on the shelf. We have other types of moonshine. We make moonshine for some famous people.
Durkee says his favorite of all their spirits is their new aged whiskey, Copper Kettle.
It's got a double wood aging process before we put it into the barrel. We use Virginia oak and we use Virginia apple wood that's charred right here behind me. And we soaked that for 2 months, so we're going to be doing that with our other products too.
But if I'm going to sit down with a cigar, you know, in the evening and smoke my cigar, I'm going to sip on that Copper Kettle Virginia whiskey. That is really good stuff to sit there. It's aged 4 years in the barrel, and I'll just sit there, sip it, and smoke my cigar.
Some of the bottling machinery is showing its age, but the group's website and social media marketing are very modern. That's a blend for success that's kept Belmont Farms Distillery going for decades. And Miller hopes this American tradition will continue for generations to come.
Craft spirits, craft beer, or Virginia wine all go very nicely with a summertime picnic. And the good news is that the recent increase in the price of beef hasn't boosted the overall cost of an outdoor meal very much. A recent informal price survey for basic picnic items by the Virginia Farm Bureau found that you can still feed a gathering of 10 people for less than $4 per person. Higher beef prices mean more families will be eating hamburger instead of steak at their next cookout, but marketing experts say consumers will still put a steak on the grill for special events and open a Virginia beverage to enjoy along with it.
Hi, today we're going to be talking about heirloom tomatoes from the ground up. Please stay tuned.
The State Fair is bringing you the best of Virginia. My job is picking it up. Know any driving tunes? They've been in the bathroom, right? Hello, ladies.
Hello.
No fight songs. This could be a challenge.
Learn more at statefairva.org.
We're on Okmulgee Dairy Farm in Amelia County, Virginia.
My great-grandfather moved here in 1898. I started milking cows, I think, in 1902, and been milking cows ever since.
The farm involves my father-in-law, mother-in-law, my husband, his brother, and our 2 boys.
You get to see and get the knowledge of the generation ahead of you, and you get all the education and new ideas from the younger sons behind me.
And I feel a real connection with the land I work every day and being able to work with my dad and brothers and uncle and grandfather.
You know, we plant stuff, you like to see it grow, build up a good herd of cattle, and think you accomplished something.
You can see the profits of your labor on a daily basis.
And we really take pride in what we do, producing a wholesome product for the consumer.
I am Larkin Moyer, a 4th-generation dairy farmer from Virginia, and I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
Nothing beats the taste of a homegrown tomato, especially some of the heirloom varieties. Chris Mullins visits with an expert on some of these historical plants to gather some growing tips from the ground up.
Well, hi, today we're in Chesterfield County, Virginia. We're at the historic Castlewood House, and we're going to be talking about heirloom tomatoes for you in the garden. And here I'm with Pat Robley. Pat, nice to have you on the show today. We really appreciate you letting us come out and talk with you.
Thanks for coming out to the garden.
Well, good. Tell me, what are you doing here? What are we seeing behind us?
Well, the plants in this garden comes from the Chesterfield Historical Society heirloom tomato plant sale. Okay. We normally have that in April over at the Chesterfield County Museum. Chesterfield Historical Society volunteers and Master Gardener volunteers help me grow about 30 kinds of heirloom tomato varieties. And we have almost all of them in the garden here today. It's an educational garden here at Castlewood.
That's great. I noticed, as I was walking through earlier, I saw so many varieties. And I know some of the gardeners in the area are very interested in this. Is that kind of what started this?
Well, yes, and it's the tie-in to history that the Historical Society is recognizing that, you know, this is our heritage and the heritage of, you know, people who came from various countries. Many of the heirlooms came with immigrants who, you know, came from countries like we have here represented in the garden. Varieties from Germany, England, Poland, Yugoslavia, And so, you know, it's that connection to history that's so important to us.
Well, we're back in the garden here now, and Pat has done a great job keeping this area neat and clean, and the production is great on these. So why would you want to grow heirlooms? Well, these are varieties and things that you can't really get at the grocery store. People grow heirloom tomatoes because of the flavor especially, and they're also different colors and shapes. They're really, really neat things to eat, and people love that. This is a really nice plant here. It's very large. Most of these varieties get very big, and so you want to make sure that you've got a cage that can support them and they won't get blown over in the wind. Speaking of really big tomatoes too, this is one called Mortgage Lifter, and this fruit is just wonderful. You can see just a really large fruit here, hence the name Mortgage Lifter. Great, nice kind of a light red color. Gonna be really nice to eat. We might take this one home and eat it a little bit later. Overall, this is a really nice plant. Let's go look at some of the others she's got back here now. All right, this is another one called Alpaca, and this is a paste tomato, as you can see here. It'd be used to make tomato paste for sauces and things like that. Just another example of the differences that you get here in some of these older varieties. Now, disease can be a real problem with heirloom varieties, older varieties, compared to hybrids or newer modern varieties that have some disease resistance built into them or bred into them. These don't. So you really have to help these plants during the growing season. You don't want a lot of free water, for example, on the leaves. You know, you can have fungal problems because of that. So when you irrigate these plants, and I think you should irrigate them, that really gives them a good start on the production season, you should water at the bottom, maybe with drip irrigation or soaker hoses or with watering cans. I would stay away from overhead irrigation for these. Like I said, that free water on the leaves just gives more chance for fungal problems to occur. Well, this is another variety. This is Brandywine. Many of you have heard of that particular one. We talked about irrigation. As you're irrigating here, you don't want a lot of that moisture in the soil to evaporate, and you can do that with mulch. Now you notice Pat has put there's some newspaper down, so she put some newspaper down, and then she's covered it with a lot of this bark. So that's gonna, and you see there's hardly any weeds. I don't see any weeds in here. So she's kept the weeds down. She's also kept the moisture in the soil and at the root zone. So when she does water, you don't lose a lot of that. That's important. That's one definite thing to think about with the heirlooms. You need to really pay attention to how much you water, not too much because a lot of these have thin skins and you'll get some cracking, but not too little because they really need the water also. One other tip, you need to not give these varieties as much nitrogen as you would typical hybrid varieties. So you need to think about that. Cut it by about 25% and these will grow great. Well, these heirloom tomatoes can be really great for the home gardener. The experienced gardener are going to have a lot of fun with these, and even a new gardener can give these a try. I would recommend maybe if you want to make sure you have tomatoes for the end of the season to plant some hybrids along with these, and sometimes you might want to plant a little more of the heirlooms than you normally would. In case you have a crop failure, you still would have some that you can eat at the end of the summer. So for more information about heirloom plants, and especially heirloom tomatoes, please contact your local county extension office. Your master gardener can help you out with that. For From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins, and we'll see you next time.
Speaking of delicious, juicy tomatoes, we use sun-dried ones and other summer treats in a special pizza recipe coming up next in the heart of the home. Stay with us.
Tomatoes are a leading crop on Virginia's eastern shore, where major packing companies raise cherry, Roma, traditional, and heritage tomato varieties to ship up and down the East Coast. But tomatoes are grown commercially across the state and even indoors at hydroponic operations. The number of tomato operations in Virginia has grown in recent years, even though the amount of acres planted has declined. There are currently more than 1,600 operations in Virginia. Nearly all Virginia tomatoes are sold fresh instead of processed. Virginia's tomato crop brought $62 million to growers last year, making Virginia the fourth largest tomato-producing state.
If you're looking for new ways to incorporate tomatoes into your summertime recipes, why not try sun-dried tomatoes? Former Miss America Caressa Jackson has an easy recipe for sun-dried tomato pizza in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Caressa Jackson for Heart of the Home, cooking at the kitchen at Meadow Hall at the Meadow Event Park. Today we're going to be making a lemon artichoke pesto pizza with sun-dried tomatoes and kale. It's a very healthy way to get a lot of the good stuff in that you need on pizza. So we're going to start with already made dough, cut into 4 sections because we're actually going to make 4 mini pizzas. We're going to use a floured surface. And the great thing about already made dough is it takes out a lot of the work for you. You can find ready-made dough as well as kale, sun-dried tomatoes, and cheese at any local market, but of course we got ours from our sponsor at Relay Foods along with this awesome recipe. So we're going to press it out until it's about 1/4 inch thick. If you aren't having much luck doing it with your hands, you can find anything around your kitchen to roll it out like a bottle if you don't have a rolling pin on hand. Here's one of my best ones yet. They're all gonna look different, so each mini pizza will be unique and have its own special little flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and start building our pizza. We're gonna begin with our lemon, pesto, and artichoke sauce. I'm going to use about 1 jar, and you can just spread this liberally on each pizza. All right, now we're going to add mozzarella cheese. So good. If you're like me, you want to load up on the cheese. The awesome thing about pizza, it's really hard to go wrong when you're adding your toppings. Just as a measurement for this recipe, we're using about 8 ounces of mozzarella cheese. Then we're going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And then we're going to finish this portion of our toppings with sun-dried tomatoes, which can be found at your local farmer's market or at the local grocery store, wherever you shop this time of year. They are readily available to you. These are drained and chopped. So if for some reason you're picking them up at a grocery store and they're already in some sort of oil, you want to make sure that you drain them first. We are going to put these mini pizzas in the oven at 375 for about 20 minutes, and then we will add our kale and finish off the recipe. All right, now we've been baking our pizzas for about 20 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and add our kale for the last step of this cooking process. I have about 1 cup of freshly chopped kale. We're going to add these to each mini pizza, and we're going to continue to cook for about 4 to 6 minutes or until our crust is crispy. Kale is one of those power foods. It's great for your energy level. And adding it to a pizza is a great way to trick your kids into eating some green stuff. So we have just taken our pizzas out of the oven. We're going to let them cool for about 10 to 15 minutes. A gluten-free option for this pizza is just to use a gluten-free dough, but you can still use all of the rest of the ingredients. And we are going to put each mini pizza on a plate. They smell so good. So here you have it, artichoke pesto pizza with sun-dried tomatoes and kale. I'm Caressa Jackson for Heart of the Home. Come and get it.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org. Visit the Virginia farm that produced an American legend. See the birthplace of 1973 Triple Crown champion Secretariat, now a Virginia historic landmark, at Meadow Event Park. Our Hoofprints of History tours are given year-round by reservation. It's a perfect day trip for families, groups large or small, and anyone who loves horses and history. Resident author historian Leanne Meadows-Layden conducts the tours and shares behind-the-scenes stories about Meadow Stable and its most famous son, Secretariat. Meadow Event Park also hosts the annual Secretariat birthday celebration at the Virginia Horse Festival each spring. The festivities at the State Fair of Virginia at Meadow Event Park include an annual salute to Secretariat during both weekends. Come see where the legend lives on. Visit Secretariat's birthplace at Meadow Event Park.
Well, I've gotten my share of back pain picking blueberries for the big payoff of a homemade blueberry pie. But those were wild blueberries. Today, as Dave Miller reports, you can pick your own blueberries much easier and support your local farmer.
It is a small but mighty fruit, and there's nothing quite as nutritious as the blueberry. And raising blueberries helps boost the economic health of many Virginia pick-your-own operations. Virginia counts 415 blueberry farms scattered across the state, and most operations are only an acre or so in size, but each acre can produce thousands of plants. Blueberries come in season in Virginia around the middle of June, and the pick-your-own farms stay busy until the last berry is harvested, usually in mid to late July. The owners of SEAMANS Orchard planted their first in spring of 2010. Their 2,500 blueberry bushes are planted in weed-free, raised beds, making it easy to harvest the fruit. Carter Parr runs the family farm. He says this year's crop came in about a week late.
Cold, late winter can affect them. If they bloom and you get frost at the wrong time, you could lose part of your crop if you don't have any type of frost protection. Some of the diseases, the disease is not a big deal with it for us for blueberries. Sometimes we have insect, spotted wing Drosophila has become a problem that can be a problem if you not stay on top of it.
The bushes are heavy with fruit now, and picking blueberries is a fun and easy job for young and old. Parr says a drive to a pick-your-own berry farm is a great trip for families and a fun day for the kids, and is growing in popularity.
So many more people nowadays that don't know anybody, have never been on a farm. Used to be, a few generations back, you could trace it back to mom or dad or grandparents or somebody worked on a farm or had a farm. But now you can't do that. There's so many more people so removed from the farm and have never been on a farm. So they love coming out, seeing a farm and just getting out away from everything. Everybody wants to know where their fruit comes from. They want to know the person that grows their fruit. And they just like to know it's local.
Blueberries are hardy plants that help to extend the pick-your-own season for local growers. They mature, coming in after the typical strawberry season, and are ripe to pick before other berries like raspberries and blackberries. They're ranked as the second most popular fruit with consumers, right behind strawberries. Blueberries are also a nutrition powerhouse, a superfood loaded with phytonutrients. According to the USDA Human Nutrition Research Center on Aging, laboratory studies show that a diet including blueberries may improve motor skills and reverse the short-term memory loss that comes with aging, or age-related diseases such as Alzheimer's. Researchers have also identified the compound in blueberries that helps to reduce the risk of infection. And they're also a great low-calorie snack. A cup of fresh blueberries is only 84 calories. Beyond the health benefits of berry picking, Parr says the experience of getting out to the country and harvesting fruit by hand is what keeps folks coming back for more. A recent Virginia State University study found that most Virginia berry growers raise blueberries as part of a mix of small fruits on their farms. Most couldn't expand production because the crop is so labor-intensive. And the really successful ones found ways to sell blueberries year-round by processing extra fruit into jams and jellies, giving consumers even more ways to get their blueberry fix. Reporting in Nelson County, Virginia, I'm Dave Miller.
We're so glad you could join us this week to celebrate all the bounty that Virginia has to offer. From your kitchen, to your home and garden, to our wide open spaces, we're proud to say that this is real Virginia. So for everyone here at the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching, and make it a good week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.